up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another My Week with video. This week I'm driving the glorious 2024 Lexus LC500. Oh, and I've covered this car many times before, but I never turned down an excuse to drive an LC500. And the wonderful news for 2024 is that they finally added the touchscreen. That is the big deal here. And with it, they bring along the new Lexus infotainment software, which is, a really nice improvement. The touchscreen is big and beautiful. It works flawlessly. It now has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and it's really a great addition. And I think a lot of people's minds, and also in mine, it kind of perfects the LC. I do kind of miss the beautiful integration the old screen had in the dash. This larger screen size just simply doesn't fit, but I think, from a practical standpoint, this is the better choice. But even without the touchscreen, the LC was basically a perfect car in my mind, and I happily put up with the little touchpad controller that you used to have in these, just because this interior is beautiful, this car is amazing, and any shortcomings can be thrown out the window once you hear this glorious exhaust. And you see the drop-dead gorgeous looks of this thing. And that is one of the other really cool things about this one in particular, and one of the new things for 2024 was that you could do these bespoke builds. And so it allowed you to do kind of a la carte optioning for these. So you're able to, get some options that typically you had to get in packages in the past. And you also unlock some unique color combos. So this one is this gorgeous copper crest. Sorry, I can't talk over this engine because it is just too beautiful to talk over. But so, you get the copper crest on the outside, which looks so good on this car, and especially with these newer forged wheels that we have in black, it's such a sharp combo. But then you look at this interior, which is, again, unlocked with this bespoke option, which gives you this dark blue and cream interior with the white roof and everything. It is beautiful. And I personally prefer the convertible, but I almost feel like I'm in a convertible with how light and airy it is in here because of the white roof in particular. And it just makes the whole experience even that much sweeter, having this gorgeous interior to stare at, meanwhile knowing everyone else is enjoying the gorgeous exterior as it rolls by. And this car does get a lot of approval, lots of thumbs up. Every single person I talked to during these 8 days I've had this thing for, everyone is complimentary. Not a single negative comment about this thing. Obviously there's some of the whiners that say it's not fast enough, but I would argue in days like these where if you want to have the fastest thing possible, you go buy a Model 3 Performance for 45 grand and you smoke everyone at a red light. Like, straight line acceleration is fun, but these days I think it's a little bit overrated and over focused on. This thing, 471 horsepower from a beautiful, naturally aspirated, reliable 5-liter V8 engine, 398 pound-feet of torque. Not a lot. It's a 4.4 second 0 to 60. And yes, at this vehicle's as-tested price of $111,000, yes, you can get much faster things for much less money. And if, you are racing a spec sheet, then by all means go for the alternatives. But then you hear that, and again, you just drink in the gorgeous looks, and you do it all, by the way, with Lexus reliability as well, which is also the real sweet thing. You have an exhaust note that, in my opinion, almost rivals the Maserati's traditional naturally aspirated V8 they used to have in the Gran Turismo and stuff, but you get it in a reliable form. And I think that is, really some of the beauty of the Lexus as well, in addition to all the things that stand on its own merits. It's just such a fantastic combo. And again, I already reviewed the regular hardtop many years ago when these first came out. I spent a week with a convertible almost about 4 years ago now as well. And now just revisiting this, again, fun to try out the touchscreen, but really just an excuse to selfishly spend another week with one of these things. Now there have been some other little improvements as well over the past few years, as well as some improvements here coming for 2025. So there's a new iridium color for 2025, and they also announced that there's going to be some reinforcements to the front and rear subframes for extra structural rigidity. So they're continuing to refine it and improve it ever so slightly. Again, it's already pretty much perfect in my mind anyway, so not necessary, but any improvement is always good, and it's great to see that they are continuing to invest and be interested in this vehicle, even though it is pretty dated at this point. But that's the other thing too. just one more comment about the looks, I promise. And that is that, you know, this is a vehicle that has, again, been around since, I think, the 2018 model year, 2017. And this still looks like this could be a 2025 brand new design. It looks that sharp and fresh. And, you know, name another vehicle that looks as fresh at, you know, whatever this is, 7, 8 years old. Even got away from that guy. So everyone is a friend of yours whenever you're driving this thing, it seems. But, you know, it's just impressive. A vehicle that's this old, honestly, is still this hot and fresh looking and has universal regard by everyone, essentially. It's really, really impressive. So now, as far as the other things, so over the past few years, I believe 2022, they retuned the suspension for better ground contact and, you know, did all their little microscopic tweaks that they do to, again, improve this ever so slightly incrementally here. Also, one other new thing I think probably must have been picked up here in the last year was that we have Michelin Pilot Sport S5 tires. So the new 5 generation of the Pilot Sport. And we're coming up some corners here I always take. Let's see how it handles once again. And what I love, you know, I don't know if this is, again, down to the tires or just down to the different spec of this one, but it's really tail happy. We're also in some cooler temperatures here. It's 50 degrees outside right now, so approaching the lower limits of these tires that typically like to operate at 40 degrees or above. But this thing has been so tail happy this week, and it's so fun. It is a little bit of a challenge in the rain, though, because this one I don't believe has the torsion limited slip diff, because I believe that's still required as part of the dynamic package. This one does not have, so we don't have rear wheel steer on this one. We don't have, there's a balancer that you have too, and those, the carbon fiber roof we do have, just because of the bespoke build. You can do that as an a la carte thing for $2,400. So this has that, and a few other cool little things of the bespoke build. Like, for example, this one has carbon fiber door sills, which amazingly are only $600 for a piece of carbon fiber that large on both doors, door sills. I mean, that much carbon fiber would probably cost you $5,000 if you were ordering from Porsche. $600 for that giant slab of carbon fiber is a bargain. Even the carbon fiber roof at $2,400 is, you know, very reasonable for the options here for these bespoke builds. And, you know, I'm not sure how far you can take the bespoke thing. I think it is still kind of like predetermined options that you can just select. I don't think you can pick any of the color of the rainbow or go crazy on these. Maybe you can, I'm not sure, you know, if you inquire or whatever, but because I mean, they're not making very many of these obviously at this point, but you know, just really cool that you can kind of free up the options in the packages and you can select and choose what you want. Like this one, for example, has the speed activated rear spoiler, which is, you know, a power thing, and you know, that is something typically you get the dynamics package for. This one has it, so if you're someone who just likes having the little spoiler do its thing, you like the carbon fiber roof, but again, you don't need all the extra dynamic stuff, you know, it's great that you can now, you know, pick apart these packages and, you know, pick the pieces you want and then leave the ones you don't. Hands down, you know, if I had the money, I'd still go for a convertible version, but this is like one of those like buy and keep cars. You know it's going to be a future classic. You know it's going to be sought after forever, and you know, you just know that it's a special car. It really is. And so you know, it's just one that I'm glad they're continuing to build it, and they're supporting it all these years, and you know, we probably thought it'd go away by now, and here it remains. And I think that with each passing year, this car gets more special, more desirable, and more unique in this world of everyone dropping V8s, everyone going for maximum lap times and electrification and bloating everything to, you know, very heavy weights and all that. You know, this is still so wonderfully pure and simple and just so good to drive too. Everything is really well done. You know, throttle response is great. This 10-speed automatic is very responsive, and just everything about this thing is just perfection. It's just absolute perfection. I love it to death. Man, this active exhaust sounds so good too. That is one thing I think that this does have some tweaks here. I know it was made a little bit louder, I think, for the convertible, and I think that has carried over to the coupe here, but it is the perfect volume, the perfect tone, and Lexus really tuned it perfectly, I think, from the factory. I think with these, when these have exhausts on them, to me, it just then gets more raspy and just sounds like any other generic V8. This is really, from the factory, a unique sound that is just, again, just a delight to drink in. And the tail happiness is great with this thing too. But yeah, and one of the other last little cool perks is when you go for this bespoke edition, you do get a certificate of authenticity that is signed and stamped by the chief engineer of the vehicle as well. And you know, it's only $3,600 by the way for the bespoke thing, so it's again not a huge upcharge to get into that program. And then, you know, it's again a la carte options that do drive up the price, but again, even this one so nicely spec'd, perfectly spec'd, honestly, in my opinion, you know, is still only $111,550. And also, you got to keep in mind with everything else, you know, these days that looks exotic like this, that is, you know, a performance coupe, that they're all going to be probably this expensive, if not more so anyway. So I mean, this is really a bargain too among, you know, gorgeous coupes that actually have some good performance behind them. So yeah, I mean, the last thing to mention here, I guess, is we can talk about fuel economy very briefly over my driving here this week, which, you know, again, I was enjoying it, but I was also doing some kind of normal around town errand running and living with this vehicle as well. I've been averaging 16.5 mpg, and these are rated at 16 mpg in the city, 24 on the highway, and 18 combined. So, I mean, I'm actually overperforming the city number, which is better than, a lot of times I get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating. So, again, I'm not going to brag about getting 16.5 mpg, but, you know, for a V8 that I'm ringing out and enjoying, that's not, you know, insane or anything. So, you know, again, not like that should be a concern if you're spending this kind of money anyway. If you are concerned about that, you can still get the LC500H, which gives you the same gorgeous looks, the same gorgeous interior, the same great driving dynamics, just with the hybrid system, which uses a V6 and a hybrid component. And I spent a week with one of those as well a few years ago, and that also was really nice to live with. Actually did a long road trip in that. Excellent fuel efficiency. So if you want to have just a beautiful looking thing that is really good on gas, it's also awesome that they offer that as well. And one last thing I'll add is that whenever I was just kind of cruising around and, you know, living life with this vehicle, it's an excellent grand tour. Whenever you're in the normal or the comfort modes, the engine really quiets down, just quietly coasts, and, you know, you have a really nice soft ride with these adaptive dampers you have here in this that soak up the bumps really well for a vehicle that's as sporty as this is, and on 21-inch wheels like this one is. You know, it's a really nice thing to live with, honestly. Yes, the, you know, trunk's a little small, and I also picked up a little squeak from the brakes here this week when I was driving in the rain, I think, so it might just be something I need to brush off a little bit more aggressively. But, you know, outside of that, I mean, it's a perfect daily driver. It's such a nice vehicle to live with. Obviously, you know, every Lexus is a nice daily driver, but, you know, in particular, I mean, this was just, yeah, again, just basically perfect. Overall, yeah, this car gets better with age, absolutely, and I desperately want one. And maybe someday I will be able to achieve that dream, because this thing, especially the convertible, you know, you can go watch that video at the end of this one if you want to hear me, again, rant and rave for another 20 minutes about that. But, you know, especially with the convertible, getting all that sound with being exposed to the elements, it is, it's amazing. It is driving paradise, in my opinion. So anyway, but that's all of my thoughts here on the LC500. Huge thanks to Toyota here for providing me with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.